For much of her life, Dame Judi Dench was viewed as beyond reproach, a figure whose presence alone commanded reverence. Audiences saw mastery, critics saw consistency, and the industry saw a symbol of artistic authority. Her reputation suggested protection from the quieter struggles that often accompany long careers in the arts. Yet Dench herself has gently revealed that respect, even at the highest level, is never guaranteed. Behind the acclaim were moments when her experience was questioned, her perspective sidelined, or her professionalism quietly tested. These instances were not dramatic or public, but they were real. Rather than allowing admiration to harden into myth, she chose honesty. Her reflections remind us that prestige does not eliminate vulnerability, and that even the most celebrated careers are shaped by unseen negotiations of respect, voice, and presence that rarely reach the spotlight but deeply influence the person behind the performance. How power operates: quietly. Power rarely announces itself with confrontation or spectacle. More often, it reveals itself through absence, whose ideas are acknowledged, whose discomfort is dismissed, and whose authority is quietly assumed away. Judi Dench encountered these dynamics in spaces where commercial priorities sometimes outweighed artistic consideration. She never framed these moments as personal injustice, but as structural realities that affect everyone, regardless of status. Even with decades of experience, she observed how easily conversations could move past her, how decisions could form without consultation, and how expectation could replace dialogue. These situations were not overtly hostile, which made them harder to challenge directly. Instead of reacting emotionally, she paid attention. Her awareness became her shield. By recognizing subtle imbalances early, she preserved her autonomy without escalating conflict, demonstrating that understanding power is often more effective than confronting it head-on. Authority without noise. Throughout her career, Dench demonstrated that authority does not need to be loud to be effective. When faced with decisions about her work or public image that did not align with her values, she did not resort to confrontation or public correction. Instead, she chose clarity. She understood that saying no quietly could carry more weight than arguing loudly. By stepping away from projects or situations that felt misaligned, she protected her sense of self without damaging relationships. These choices were deliberate, not reactive. She trusted her instincts and her body of work enough to know that relevance did not require compromise. This approach allowed her to maintain dignity while avoiding unnecessary conflict. Her authority came from consistency, not control, and from an unspoken confidence that her career was sustained by choice, not obligation. The weight of unspoken tension. Acting depends on trust, communication, and mutual engagement. When any of these elements falter, the impact is deeply felt, even if never publicly acknowledged. Dench has reflected on how difficult it can be when collaboration becomes fragmented, especially when differing working styles create emotional distance. She respected that artists approach their craft in varied ways, but she also recognized when silence replaced connection. In those moments, she did not demand change or explanation. Instead, she observed the effect on the work and on herself. When communication disappeared entirely, she took it as information rather than insult. Her response was internal, measured, and forward-looking. Rather than forcing harmony, she made private decisions about future collaborations, choosing environments where presence and mutual acknowledgement were part of the process. Admiration with boundaries. Judi Dench has always spoken generously about the talent of those she worked alongside, even when personal dynamics were challenging. She understood that brilliance and compatibility are not the same thing. Publicly, she remained gracious, offering praise where it was deserved and maintaining professionalism without exception. Privately, however, she allowed herself boundaries. She recognized that admiration does not require endurance of discomfort. This distinction became a cornerstone of her longevity. By separating respect for the work from tolerance of the environment, she protected her emotional well-being without diminishing others. Her approach rejected the idea that artistic greatness excuses disregard. Instead, she demonstrated that it is possible to honor talent while still choosing distance, a balance that preserved both her integrity and her continued love for the craft. When mentorship shifts. Early in her career, Dench experienced mentorship as a shared exchange built on curiosity and respect. Over time, she noticed how easily that balance could shift, especially when authority changed hands. Younger collaborators, eager and confident, sometimes crossed from guidance into control without realizing it. When interpretations clashed and correction arrived without humility, trust quietly eroded. Dench did not respond defensively or assert seniority. She allowed the work to speak and adjusted her expectations of the relationship. Professionalism remained, but intimacy faded. This shift was never dramatic, yet it was decisive. Once the collaborative spirit was lost, it was not restored. Her response reflected emotional intelligence rather than pride, acknowledging that not every creative relationship is meant to evolve beyond its initial form. The discipline of walking away. One of Dench's most defining strengths has been her ability to disengage without resentment. When humor drifted into carelessness or preparation was treated as disposable, she recognized the imbalance immediately. Rather than negotiating her standards or lowering them for convenience, she chose distance. This was not punishment or protest, but alignment. She believed collaboration should be rooted in shared intention and mutual respect. When those elements disappeared, she withdrew calmly. Many mistook this restraint for passivity, but it was a form of discipline. Walking away preserved her energy and reinforced her values. She understood that explaining oneself repeatedly to those unwilling to listen only weakens one's position. Silence, followed by absence, became her most effective response, grace as strength. Grace is often misunderstood as softness, yet in Dench's life, it was anchored in certainty. She knew who she was, what she valued, and what she would not accept. This clarity allowed her to remain polite without being permissive. As she aged, she resisted narratives that framed experience as fragility or sentimentality. Her authority came from decades of engaged work, not nostalgia. When expectations of diminished relevance surfaced, she did not argue. She simply adjusted access. This quiet confidence unsettled assumptions without confrontation. By refusing to apologize for age or experience, she maintained autonomy on her own terms. Her grace was not submission, it was self-trust, practiced consistently and without explanation. A legacy of choice. Looking back, Judi Dench's career is defined as much by her decisions as by her performances. She chose where to stay, when to leave, and who deserved proximity. These choices were rarely visible to the public, yet they shaped a career marked by longevity, clarity, and peace. She did not cling to environments that diminished her, nor did she seek validation through noise. Silence, when chosen, became preservation rather than retreat. Her story teaches that respect is not guaranteed by reputation, but maintained through boundaries. Once respect was lost, the door closed gently and permanently. This was not punishment, but self-preservation. In an industry that rewards volume, her legacy proves that quiet resolve can be just as powerful